Odinson, and this is the Barbarian Lounge podcast. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. We've got a good show lined up for you today. As always, I appreciate your patronage here in the Barbarian Lounge. So today, folks, let's get a few things out of the way here real quick. Just a few things that I want to cover here. Let's see, that housekeeping that we always have to do. So please check out our website, thebarbarianlounge.com. You can go there. You can check out the stuff we have on there. We have a store set up. Also, we have a new donate button right there. It's a menu you can click on, and a lot of different options will come down for you. We have different ways you can help support the Barbarian Lounge. This show is 100% listener supported, and as you know, I've talked about some of the struggles we've had with Antifa, some of the communist parties, and we're developing new enemies every day because let me just say that I'm out there on the field, guys. I'm out there. I'm putting the word out. I'm pulling more triggers than Yosemite Sam. So, we've got a lot of enemies, and you know what? I've always kind of been of the assumption that if you don't have enemies, you're not doing something right. So, needless to say, we've had some different attacks on the websites. We've had, threats and all this different stuff like that. And there's certain levels of protection that we have to offer for, for our websites and other aspects of the production of this show. So, those listener supported donations that you guys put in, that really, really helps us in the long run, helps keep the lights on, keeps us protected, and allows us to keep moving forward in that climb that we all must make. So there's a lot of different options there. You can click on the donate button, and there's a one-time donation you can make through PayPal just to say thanks. You can also become a member on our Patreon site. If you become a member there, that's done on a per episode donation. So a lot of people do different amounts. A lot of people do like $1 an episode, and basically what that comes up to is we do 4 regular shows, and you get 4 exclusive shows that are only available on Patreon. So by becoming a member, you get access to exclusive content. There's a lot of options there that you can utilize. Some people, some guys out there, some of our listeners, shout out to my boy, Mr. Albert out there. He's an awesome dude, man. He's really been supporting the show. He's been making some awesome memes for us and everything. So he's one of the guys that's down with the cause. So thank you, brother, for everything that you've been helping us out with. And all my other members, all you other Patreon members that are out there, every little bit is helping. I could go through the list of all of our members, but and thank them on an individual level. But I've talked to a lot of these people personally, and they know that I am more than thankful for everything that they've done here. So please become a member. You can get access to the shows, get stuff early. There's a lot of perks we're going to look to add for our members as this year progresses. Also, you can check us out on iTunes, check us out on Stitcher. You can subscribe on our host website, thebarbarianlounge.podbean.com. Go there, give a subscription, keep up to date on everything that's coming out. You can also check us out on ucy.tv, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Tuesdays. There's a live chat that goes on. You can talk to other people about the content of the show. So that's always a good thing. There's a lot of our older episodes are going through, but also sometimes they pick up our newer ones as well. So check it out there. Our sponsors, Mitacon, MitaconUSA.com. Got my trusty bottle of Mitacon right here. Give it a listen. That's right. Got it right here. And I am riled up and ready to go. Got that, chugging that Mitacon throughout the show should keep me fired up, keep me focused on what needs to happen here today. You can also check out Odinson Archery, OdinsonArchery.com. Traditional bows made from non-traditional materials. This weekend only, from Friday till midnight Sunday, we have our Odinson Archery MAGA sale. That's right. That's Make America Great Again sale. Celebrate, and you can get free shipping on any of our the Assassin model bow. So it's our international bestseller. That bow has actually been sold pretty much to every continent in this wonderful place we call Earth. So please check it out there. Take advantage of that sale. First chance you get. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of things today. First off, guys, I'm gonna give you a little bit of inside baseball before I hit the actual content of this show. Because I can tell you, let me explain to you my mentality going forward in this year. Because I'm going to tell you, as this show is lined up, a lot of times I like to get shit prepared and get everything lined up. But we had kind of a monkey wrench thrown into the game this week. I had set up, I had talked to the members about this, that they found out about it on our last members only show. So they were primed up and ready, and I had a wonderful interview lined up this month, or this week, I'm sorry. I've always said, that everybody always says that the fox tries to sneak into the hen house. And I always wondered to myself, I put a kind of a cryptic post that said, why doesn't the fox ever just invite the hen over for drinks to talk about their differences? And, you guys know I've been at war, if you want to call it that, with the communist left and the Black Lives Matter. I've gotten a lot of shit, especially on Twitter. You can find the Barbarian Lounge on Twitter, Alan Odinson. I'm on there on Twitter, and I'm pulling a lot of triggers on there. And, I've talked a lot about Black Lives Matter, the Antifa, and I've gotten a lot of flack for calling Black Lives Matter a domestic terrorist organization, which they absolutely 100% are a domestic terrorist organization. Gotten a lot of shit from them. And we're always hearing about white privilege this and white privilege that and all that. So, there's a lot of voices out there that are talking. And a lot of times you find that the leftists tend to like to talk to leftist organizations. People on the right like to talk to the right-leaning organizations. A lot of times the leftists don't really want to have a conversation with the right, and I'm not sure if the right wants to have a conversation with the left. I'm not 100% sure how it plays out. Until I actually made some steps this week. I made a lot of calls. I put a lot of calls out, put a lot of bait, if you will. I wouldn't really call it bait. They knew the content of what they were coming into. To a lot of different organizations in leftist movements, in Antifa movements, in Black Lives Matter movements. I asked these people, I opened the doors to the lounge and I said, hey, you guys want to come in and have a debate? You guys want to come in and talk? Let's have a conversation about our differences here, and let's see what we can come to common ground on. And one by one, every single one of them bailed. They either didn't respond or they bailed. And I'm gonna tell you, I had an interview lined up this week. On Tuesday, I was supposed to film it. An interview with the lady that runs the reparations.me website, a black lady named Natasha Marin. And Natasha Marin, she runs this website, and she's like, oh, this website is to promote healing for all people. Blah, blah. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. That website is designed for white people to give shit to black people. You said it yourself in many of your interviews. I could pull up sound clips if you would like. But plain and simple, that's what it is. So I wanted to have her on this show because all the shows she's went on, she's talked to other black people. So I wanted her to look me in the face and have her explain to me exactly the privilege that I have. Because let me tell you something, fellow barbarians. I've looked around, I've checked my bug out bag, checked my file cabinets here, and I looked underneath the couch and everything, and I have not been able to find that white privilege that she speaks of. She makes these comments saying, I remember when she was on the, what's the guy's name? Trying to think of the radio show she was on where she was absolutely, flaming cunt. Oh, Jesse Lee Peterson. Yeah, she was on his show and he was asking her about, he's a black guy, and he was asking her, about these things, and she said, oh, well, a lot of black people are feeling broken right now and everything, and their spirits are broken. And he's like, tell me why black people feel this way. And she's like, you want me to speak for all black people? I can't speak for all black people. But the thing is, this always amuses me because she's willing to speak for all white people, isn't she? Right? She's willing to speak that all of us have this privilege. I've listened to all of these different arguments from her, and it's absolutely disgusting. And I was prepared to bring her on this show and have a conversation with her about it. I would assume that it was going to at least start out as a conversation. But to be perfectly honest with you, brothers, these ladies, these people who, of this leftist, communist, cultural Marxist mentality, they're not there for the conversation. They're not. They're there to throw out buzzwords. They're there to call you a fascist. They're there to call you a racist. They're there to call you everything in the book but have the conversation. And if you listen to her interview with Jesse Lee Peterson, you listen to this interview, he's attacking her with logic. He's not being mean to her. And the logic doesn't hold up. So what happens is they go right to cultural Marxist mode and they say, oh, are you a racist? Oh, and they go into full, like, troll mode. So I had an idea that probably what was going to happen is I was going to try and be calm with her and have a nice conversation, and we were going to try to come to a common ground. And then she was slowly going to degenerate into the flaming cunt that she likes to act. So it was probably going to end up with me yelling at her. And to be honest with you, at this point, you can look at what's going on right now with the Donald Trump rallies, all these fucking Antifa and all these other Black Lives Matter losers out there that should be fucking working, but they're standing in the streets harassing cops. I have some brothers right now that are in uniform on the streets right now standing up to these guys. Let me tell you something, brothers. If you're listening to this right now or listening to it any time, you have my full support. Fucking crush these Antifa scum. Every last fucking one of them. I want to see them crushed. When you give them one, whisper in their ear, say, this one's for Odinson, okay? Because I bring my fucking bat, the Commie Crusher 5000. I bring that shit out there and give you guys a hand if you let me stand next to you. But, hey, it is what it is. So, these people need to be yelled at. They need to. They can't be reasoned with. They can't be bargained with. Isn't that the same thing that the guy said about the Terminator? It can't be reasoned with. It can't be bargained with. And that's exactly the way they are. They're not there to have a conversation. They're not. That's not what they want. They just want to impose their will on you and have you give them shit and feel white guilt. Well, let me tell you something, Miss Marin. You were not going to come on this show and give me some level of guilt. No guilt whatsoever here. I'll dance around with my arms in the air, flailing, saying, hey, this is me enjoying my white privilege, if that's what you want to do. Because let me tell you something, there's no privilege here. She wants to put out this mentality that all of a sudden, just because you have white skin, that you can go to I heard one of the things she said was that you could go to she's like, if me and a white person were to go, this is my best Natasha Marin trendy voice, if me and a white person were to go to a bank, and we were both trying to get loans, they would get the loan before I would because of the color of their skin. Really? Is that so? Because let me tell you something. You can look at the demographic of people that get loans, and I can tell you right now, the people who get loans, I remember when I was looking at home loans a while back, I remember reading the form and it says, we do not discriminate based on age, race, religion, yada, yada. You know the whole drill. And then it says that these people, and it gives a nice list, Pacific Islanders, African Americans, Native Americans, Hispanics, women, all this long list of people who will get preferential treatment before I would, were listed there. Because let me tell you something, on that list, I didn't see straight white male listed anywhere. So you come up with this mentality that all of a sudden, that because of the color of my skin, that I automatically get some kind of privilege. Let me tell you something. If you've looked at me, if you've ever seen me, ever met me in person, if you don't think I don't get a scrutiny from people when I pass by, you've got another thing coming. She likes to say that it's some sort of white privilege that, if you're a white person, that your privilege is that you can get pulled over and not get shot because you have expired tags. Really? Let me guess. You're talking about Philando Castile? The guy that got shot because he had a gun sitting in his lap? Oh, he had a concealed weapon permit? Well, guess what? That gun was sitting in his lap. It was not concealed. And he obviously must have reached for it. So he's breaking the law right there. What do you expect? The cop is trying to find a burglary suspect, and he walks up on a vehicle with a guy with a gun in his lap, and the guy reaches for it. Is that some kind of, racism there? No. Because let me tell you something. People like Natasha Marin, they've never been out there on the lines. They've never had to face life and death situations. They have zero clue exactly what these cops go through. I've been through some of the training, and let me tell you, they've been through some shit. Let me tell you, you have to make split-second decisions, and a lot of times, once you make that decision, that's it. So, and she talked about that whole privilege thing. Well, you can look up. I urge you to Google this. There was a 70-year-old white man here in South Carolina, and he was shot as he was reaching for his cane. Was that his white privilege? And 70-year-old white man shot by police when he was reaching for his cane. I can't make a judgment call on what the cops were facing right then, but, was that his white privilege? So you see, you could break this all down and just see their logic crumble around them like a house of cards. So, back to what I was talking about before I started ranting on some of the bullshit that I was going to expose this lady on. So I had it set up for her to actually come on this show, and we were going to have a debate. And, you know, we were talking back and forth, and everything was going great. She was polite throughout the whole thing. And I was talking to some of my other broadcasting friends, and they said, I can't believe she's coming on. She obviously hasn't Googled you. And I was like, well, you know, we'll see how it plays out. Maybe she thinks I'm an idiot, and she wants to show her master's degree, her fucking master's degree. Let me tell you something. When she was on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, she liked to talk about her master's degree a lot. Her master's degree is actually in writing. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe that's, what is that going to be good for at the end of the day? Maybe, I don't know, writing for, you know, blogs or something like that. You know, there's a lot of people that blog and make a lot of money off of it. Really what that master's degree is a useless degree in writing that she actually is probably going to try and use when she gets a job somewhere like Harris Teeter or fucking Burger King or something. So, actually she won't, because she's actually works for a UN-funded organization known as Women's Centered. So, you know, she's probably getting a little bit of that George Soros money in there as well. So she likes to talk about her master's degree, and I have a master's degree, a useless fucking degree. And, you know, but like I said, she was polite to me for the most part. And, you know, we talked back and forth a little bit and exchanged some emails and whatnot. And 20 minutes prior, well, let me tell you this. I already had a hint that she was going to back out, and I'll tell you why. Because I asked her, I said, you know, send me your actual, your Skype address, and we'll set it up. You know, we're good to go. She's like, you know, she's like, okay, let me tell you this. We confirmed the time. The time was confirmed. We had the time confirmed. Everything was great there. And I said, send me your Skype address. And I didn't hear nothing back from her for about 2 days. We're 20 minutes before the interview is ready to go. I'm getting set up. I've done show prep. I've got everything lined up. And she messages me and says, oh, I'm sorry. My 9 a.m. meeting has went over, and I'm not going to be able to make the interview. Let's look at that real quick. If you had an interview set up for 10 a.m., would you set up a meeting for 9 a.m.? No, you wouldn't. Not if you had any sense. I mean, she's got a master's degree, so I would obviously hope she has some sort of sense, right? She's been through the cultural Marxist indoctrination school, the 13th grade. She should be pretty good at these things, right? But no, she obviously wants me to believe that she scheduled a meeting. So I say, okay, you know, I know what's happening here, but I give her the benefit of the doubt, and I say, okay, let's reschedule for a different time today. Oh, well, I've got meetings all day today. You've got meetings all day today. Wow, okay, well, how about tomorrow? Let me get back to you. Okay. I wait, I hear nothing. I send her another message. Hey, what about the reschedule? Nothing. Another message. Hey, you want to reschedule and come on the show? Let's talk. Nothing. Let me tell you what happened here. She Googled me. That's exactly what happened. She got online. She's like, let me see where I'm going. Because you see, these people a lot of times, they just want that publicity. And then she realized what sort of hornet's nest she was walking into. Because she wasn't walking into someone who was going to be pushed over. Okay? She likes to pull that whole trendy, nice voice and try to troll people. Let me tell you something. I don't play that bullshit. You want to come in here and you want to play that nonsense with me? I'm going to start fucking degrading you and yelling at you right here on the air and expose you in front of everybody. And probably what you would do is the exact thing you did on the Jesse Lee Peterson show and run away. And that's fine. But see, you made the retreat before you even got here. So you don't even earn any sort of respect. You didn't even decide to show up to the fight. You backed out like a fucking coward. Exactly as I expected you to. Exactly. Because you knew what was going to happen here. Okay? That's the nature of these people. See, that's what we have to understand. And let me tell you, I had the idea to actually, give a little bit inside baseball. I was actually going to, do a spoof interview of her. And I may still do that. If you guys want to hear me do that, just let me know. And just kind of fuck with her. But you know, honestly, I just didn't want to hear her voice on here. I thought I was going to give her some sort of a platform we could have a conversation. But I've learned that these people are not interested in a conversation. Not in the least bit. They're not interested in a conversation. All they want to do is yell at you and have you trying to defend yourself. Well, see, the thing is I'm not here to defend myself. If you want to fight, if you want to throw a war of words at me, well, we can engage in that battle. If that's what you want, let's do it. But see, the thing is they want to be the only voice. Okay? They want to be the only voice. They don't actually want to come in here and have this sort of discussion. So if that's the way you want to be, fine. You know, that's telling me that you don't want to exercise your First Amendment. Well, you know what happens when you fail to exercise your First Amendment? Whenever we don't have the ability to talk, there's only one thing left for us to do whenever you are imposing your will against me, and that's for me to blockade you. That's when we move from the first to the second, where we start to defend ourselves. And that's what it's boiling down to. As I'm sitting here doing this podcast for you guys, I've got playing on the screen in front of me, I'm watching these protests, these anti-Trump protests. And let me tell you, it's the biggest conglomerate of losers I've ever seen in my life. I made the joke that it looks like every single Starbucks in the United States has emptied out, and all of the patrons are now standing there in D.C. protesting. It amuses me because I laughed earlier when these guys were actually destroying Starbucks. They were actually trashing Starbucks, saying "fuck Donald Trump." Starbucks, a notoriously leftist business. They said that they didn't want people believed in traditional marriage. They didn't want their business and everything. But yet these people are trashing Starbucks. It's like, I made the joke that it's basically when you start seeing Antifa and these cultural Marxists, when you start seeing them trashing Starbucks, this is basically equivalent to the Black Lives Matter going in and destroying a weave shop or destroying a fucking Family Dollar, right? Why are you destroying your own fucking territory, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. So we've got these protesters down there, and I've been watching them. I've been watching how they operate. And there's been several news media organizations that are actually on the ground there. Props to you guys for being amongst that craziness. But they're down there, and they're trying to give these people a voice. These people do not want to talk. You see, they're not interested in having that conversation. They don't want to explain their position. They don't want to explain exactly why they're doing what they're doing. No, they don't want to do that. All they want to do is they want to burn shit up. They want to attack people in a mob, mind you. And that's it. Nothing else. We have to understand at some point, there's no conversation to be had with these people. Do we think that somehow we're going to have an honest debate with them and magically they're going to be transformed to our side? They're going to say, you know what? All of that culture Marxist training, all of that brainwashing that I've been going through my entire life, all this whole idea that I have about the world and how I think Trump's a fascist and a racist and all this other nonsense, do you think they're magically going to say, you know what? You are right in your debate? That's not how it's going to play out. I listened to a brilliant debate the other night, a gentleman whom I'm looking to get on this show because, I'll be honest with you, listening to him, he kind of blew my mind a bit. I haven't always agreed with what he says, but you know, that's the nature of anything. I don't think there's anybody that you always 100% agree with. But I listened to Matthew Heimbach, who is I guess the leader of the Traditional Workers Party. And I listened to him have a debate with one of the Antifa guys that were on the ground. And hey, you know, props to you, Matt, because those Antifa are the same ones that attacked the Traditional Workers Party out there in California. Mobs of them attacking and beating the traditional workers guys with steel pipes and shit. So props to you, Matt. Props to you for willing to engage them with a debate. He's the type of guy that you would need in a leadership position. He doesn't come at them from an emotional standpoint. He's having a conversation and he's attacking their positions. Well, there was a couple of Antifa guys there and they were having this conversation with him. And Heimbach is just absolutely brilliant how he is demolishing their position and really proving the fact that they don't have a position. They don't. They're just there to fucking tear shit up. Now, thankfully, these guys were willing to at least try and engage Heimbach, but it's basically how I always term it. I term it as basically someone having a war of words, and they showed up to the war unarmed. These guys had no positions. Any position they thought they had, Heimbach was easily and logically was able to annihilate it right there in front of them. Now, Heimbach would fall into the category of a National Socialist. I don't know. Now, let me rephrase that. I don't want to speak for Heimbach till he's on here, but he was speaking from a position of National Socialist. And a lot of people hear that and they go, oh, Nazi, Nazi. Well, there's a lot of places that use a National Socialist model. That's one of the reasons I want him on here. I want him to explain that platform to me because I know a little bit, but not a lot. And it's good to have somebody who can really explain these things to us. But listening to him talk to this guy and, really start to debate them on the issues, you find that these Antifa guys, they don't really have a stance. They think they do, but then when the logic starts hitting them, they're like, oh, And I remember this guy at one point in the debate was going, he goes, oh, you keep talking, but all I keep hearing is Nazi, 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 racist, fascist, and it's just like, okay. And then he had like a Jewish guy come up and he's like, and so, that's kind of how it plays out a lot of times. But, I'm watching these Antifa guys and, they're burning furniture in the middle of the street. They've just basically got a bonfire set up. I'm looking at it right here. There's a bonfire set up in the middle of the street with shit's on fire. And an interviewer walked up to them not long ago and he was like, hey, explain your position. And they're like, ask some real fucking questions. And they're like yelling at the guy and the guy's trying to get them to explain. But all they want to do is yell, fight, and burn shit and destroy property. When you come from a position like that, what do you expect is going to happen? You see the cops start marching in. They got the riot gear on. And, I don't blame them. Like I said before, I want these fucking cops with these Antifa scum, I want them to fucking crush them. Okay? All these other protesters that are here with the Antifa, I hear them yelling, oh, we're nonviolent and everything. Let me tell you something. Why don't you prove it? Why don't you push these people out? Because the thing is you're falling into the same category as the people that say, hey, not all Muslims are terrorists, right? Well, when a terrorist act happens, where are the Muslim countries, the Muslim people, actually, where are they at to condemn it? Where are they at to push these people out? When they've got these people hiding amongst them, they know who they are. Come on. You know who the fuck they are. When you've got a drug dealer in your neighborhood, you know who the fucking drug dealer, you know who the guy is that sells drugs. You know where they do it. You know how they sell it. You know what they're selling. You know everything about them. Why are they still there? Okay? Why are you not dropping the dime on them? A lot of times it's out of fear. And it's the same reason these fucking protesters who are there that claim to be nonviolent, where are you at? Why don't you step up and point these people out and push them from your group so you don't fall into the same category? Okay? But that's not what they're going to do. So guess what? When you're not willing to stand up, you're going to be lumped into the same pile as they are. And you're going to be treated the exact same way they are. And I fully support it. And I'm going to tell you something, fellow barbarians. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have heard me say this. You wouldn't. My opinions have changed over the years. And it doesn't have anything to do with any sort of, ideologies or anything like that. My opinions have made the slow evolution off of what I see. We have to look at what we see. A lot of people make assumptions about what's going on with these people and how the Antifa operate and, all this other nonsense without actually being on the battlefield. So they're basically like armchair quarterbacks, okay? They're revolutionary LARPers, if you want to call it that. They have a lot of opinions about what's going on, but they've never actually stepped out on the field of battle to play the game. Well, I've been there, and I've seen how these people operate. I've seen what happens. They start throwing out death threats. Yes, we get those little emails every now and then. They start attacking your websites. Yes, they do that here. They start threatening your sponsors. They've done that, and our sponsors have stood fucking strong. So hail to you. So I've seen what these people do. And I've seen that there's no conversation to be had. And we can say, oh, well, that just brings us down to their level. No, that's the only way to fight them is on their level. They're not going to step up to the conversation level. While you're talking, they're punching you in the face, stabbing you in the back, hitting you with steel pipes. They've made their play, they've made their position very clear. They have no position. They're just showed up for the violence. So they have to be met equally. So when the cops step up, with their shields, their riot gear, and they're willing to walk up and meet these people, I have to applaud them. I have to. Because I've seen what happens when you don't. You can look across history and see what happens when you let people like this run wild. this whole thing, I've been talking about the Antifa and the communist movements. It's the whole thing I did when some of the show prep that I did with for Natasha Marin. I was gonna basically out her for her communist backing, because once I did a little more research, I start finding these organizations she's associated with, and you know what? Yeah, she's been through the indoctrination. She's funded by the UN. She pushes a lot of these cultural Marxist ideals. She is the enemy, along with a lot of these other organizations. And you know what? I don't know if she's a knowing enemy or a willing enemy, but she's an enemy nonetheless. Because what ends up happening, as I found, the more research I've done, you start finding how the cultural Marxists for years have used the Black Lives Matter type organizations during the civil rights movement and the hippies and all this other bullshit. You know, they use them as their standing army. If anything, black people should be enraged at how they've been used by the Communist Party. They should be enraged. We just come off of the MLK Day, the whole Martin Luther King thing. And, you know, I just had to tell people, hey, Martin Luther King, unfortunately, I know he's hailed as this hero, but he was a communist operative. He was. You can find pictures of him at communist training schools. He was. And a good way to start learning about a lot of this, you can find a PDF for free online. There's a book that was written by a gentleman who was a communist operative. He went by the name of Joseph Pagani. Joseph Pagani was a Moscow agent sent here by Stalin himself. He was sent here to start riling up a lot of the blacks at the time. And Joseph Pagani, under the pseudonym of I think it was John Pepper, but he wrote a book called American Negro Problems. It's only 7 pages. You can find the PDF online. It maps out the game plan of the Communist Party, the cultural Marxist, to use the civil rights movement as their standing army, to create discord, to create riots, to attack and kill police. Does this sound familiar to you? Look at Black Lives Matter right now. Let me tell you something. A lot of these globalists, if you look at a lot of their documents that they've written throughout the years, things like Tragedy and Hope, if you read those books, Tragedy and Hope is a very long book, by the way. But if you read those books, read some of these communist writings, especially this book, American Negro Problems, you read this and you see how this is slowly carried over. Because let me tell you, these books, they're not writing new ones. They're using the same old ones because they have worked. Okay? They have worked. And they've constantly used these organizations as their standing army. While they sit back, because you've got the Black Lives Matter are the ones that are out there burning cities. Black Lives Matter are the ones out there shooting cops. Black Lives Matter are the ones out there beating white people. They're the ones getting Confederate monuments pulled down. And in the background, who do you have pulling the strings? The Antifa. The Antifa, you go amongst them, you'll find they're whiter than a fucking Klan rally. Okay? So, the cultural Marxists have always used the black population as their standing army. If anything, blacks should be absolutely enraged at what has went on by these cultural Marxist groups. But you're not finding that. What you're finding is a lot of them, you know, what can I say? I can't just put this on the African American population of America, because it's a lot of the population now. We live in a very fast food-esque society, meaning nobody wants to learn, everybody just wants sound bites. And in a way, I can't blame it. I can't blame it too much, because, you know, a lot of people are working all the time and they don't really want to have to think about shit. So, you know, most people end up voting for a candidate without ever really doing any research into it. They just basically hear the sound bites. And all news is basically a propaganda aspect. You know, it is. I understand that's always been the purpose of news, is to be some sort of propaganda. So you have, you know, your right-wing propaganda and your left-wing propaganda. So if you lean in one direction over the other, if you go to that news organization, you will get exactly what you want. You will get the biased source that you're looking for. There are a few organizations that are keeping it real, but not all of them. So a lot of these people, what they'll do is they'll start they'll just take sound bites. Donald Trump's a racist. And it keeps getting repeated over and over and over and over again. So what ends up happening is everyone starts going, Donald Trump's a racist. And then you get a lot of these people who are actually, you have your students, your college students, who are, I'm going to tell you, college at this point is a cultural Marxist training ground. A lot of these professors, I've sat and listened to professors, people whom I know are professors, sat and listened to them at bookstores and everything, sitting there at the coffee section, having conversations about how wonderful Karl Marx is. Okay? These are the people who are the higher education guys out there. Okay? If you look at these protests, I'm looking right now at a lot of these protests that are going, these Antifa protests, what you're seeing when they're interviewed is when they actually do have a word to come out of their mouth, what are most of them saying? I'm a student. Well, of course you're a student. That's what you're learning there. You're learning how to be a commie prick. That's what you're learning there. So a lot of times, these people come out of these schools, they go in there and they're told, we're smarter than everybody else. I'm college educated. And it's always funny to me that how college educated people a lot of times don't end up ever starting anything themselves. Natasha Marin would like to tell you how she has a master's degree and all this stuff like that in writing. And I say, I know people who've never even finished college. I know people who didn't even graduate high school. They've got GEDs and they've multiple published authors. So fuck your master's degree. And she wants to talk about privilege and the like and everything. And it's like, well, tell me this. How did you actually get into college? Did you just pay for it all together? No, you didn't. You got a college loan probably. Hell, who knows? Maybe you were paid. Maybe they actually paid you to come there. Maybe you got one of those. But I would say that when you start looking at loans, anybody that knows better can look at loans and start finding that there's a certain percentage that has to go out to minorities. That's just a fact. I'm sorry, you can call it what you want, and I know she would say, are you a racist? No, it's just a fucking fact. I know it's horrible when facts show up and assault your ideology, but hey, it is what it is at the end of the day. But when you start reading the books written by these cultural Marxists, you'll see that the whole game was always to play up the idea that the European people were the bad guys, right? We're the, that whole white guilt thing. That was always the play, the whole idea of white privilege. It's one of the things that always gets me. People will talk about privilege and all this other nonsense and white privilege this and check your privilege and everything like that. And, I remember listening to Natasha Marin, her interview with Jesse Lee Peterson, and she constantly was using this term, and she even said that even if you are disabled, you're an elderly person, you still have privilege over black people because of the color of your skin. And it's like, so you mean to tell me that a double amputee, or someone who was born with, let's say somebody with multiple sclerosis, right? If they happen to be white, they have more privilege than someone who is than say, that she does, right? They have more privilege than she does. Absolute fucking horse shit. You have the privilege to get up and spout your anti-American bullshit, right? You have the privilege to go out and protest and not get smashed, even though I think you should be fucking smashed. We're not there yet. But, this whole concept that somehow by the color of your skin that you have this level of privilege over other people, it's straight out of the communist writings. And you can see the thing, if you read American Negro Problems, you'll see how the plan was always to push this ideology. Initially, they always want to push it in the South, which is quite interesting. They even refer to it as the Black Belt of the South. And they push it in places where we see right now, we see, just a plethora of black on white violence. And that's always been the plan. It's always been the plan. If you push a cultural revolution, slowly but surely, people will start to convert over to your side. You have to understand, the whole game with cultural Marxism is about hearts and minds. It's about the long game. It's not about winning today, although, they do enjoy busting heads every now and then. But the idea has never been about winning today. It's always about the long game. They're looking at generation after generation after generation. And slowly but surely, the more people that start adopting this ideology of, this whole concept of believing that Karl Marx is the savior of humanity, you have to understand, these people are going to start having kids. And it's going to start spreading to them. And before you know it, you've got a whole nation full of little fucking socialist pricks out there. Okay? I just recently saw Fox News did an interview the other night. There was a child out in the middle of these DC protests burning shit. Burning shit and saying, screw our president. This kid's barely old enough to even know anything remotely about how politics works. Ideally, what should have happened is someone should have said, where's your father, son? And found his dad and beat the shit out of him right there. They could have took my bat, the Commie Crusher 5000, and bashed him upside the fucking head and body. And do something where the motherfucker can't breathe again. Because if that's not a proof right there that this shit is a disease that is spreading, I don't know what is. So there comes a point, guys, where we're going to have to understand that these people aren't going to want to have a conversation. They don't. I'm watching, as I've said multiple times, I've got it playing right here on the TV. That's why I seem a little distracted sometimes, because I'm trying to actually watch it as it's happening. And I'm seeing people trying to debate these people, and they just get in their face and start yelling. So we have to understand. See, I'm the type of guy that I'm willing to have a conversation, but if you want to yell, if you want to throw shit, and you want to do these things like that, we can play that game too. It's funny, these guys, they all act like they're the big dick on campus, where they want to actually step up and they want to do something, they want to do something. But as soon as people start throwing back, you start seeing that dick shrivel up real quick. It's the same with Gavin McInnes leaving the Deplorable the other night. Everybody thought he was just a goofy little comedian, and what happened? One of these Antifa got in his face, and Gavin started throwing fists on this motherfucker. And I thought to myself, what did you think was going to happen, right? A guy with the last name McGinnis, you don't think he's going to throw hands on you if you get in his face? But immediately the guy backs up and throws his hands up and says, oh, look, man, I'm just peaceful. Let me tell you something, Antifa. Let me tell you something, culture Marxist. Let me tell you something, BLM. You can't go out, and under your very doctrine, you cannot go out and attempt to destroy the U.S. Constitution. You cannot go out and attempt to destroy the state itself and then beg for the protections of the state and beg for the protections of the U.S. Constitution. You can't do it. You can't go out there and say America's not great and then say, oh, respect my rights as an American. You just can't. And that's what these people do. As soon as they get confronted, they throw their hands up there and say, whoa, man. Whoa, just respect my First Amendment. Motherfucker, your First Amendment's revoked. And yes, people are hearing that, so like, God damn, Odinson sounded like a fascist. Let me tell you something. These fucking people have pushed me to this point. I'm done. I'm fucking done trying to have a conversation with these people. I'm over it. I'm sick. I've extended the olive branch to these people. And let me tell you something. If any of you Antifa, any of you fucking commie pricks are listening to this and you actually want to come in and have a conversation, we can do that. But you start your fucking cultural Marxist playbook and start saying, oh, you're a racist, you're blah, blah, throwing all this bullshit out. Let me tell you something. You're going to get yelled out and kicked out the fucking door. Because I'm done. I'm done trying to have a conversation with you people. Because you don't want to have it. You want to attack in your mobs. You want to attack women, you want to attack children, you want to attack people with weapons, and as soon as you get fucked up, you want to say, whoa, man, what about my rights? Police, police, police. While you were yelling abolish the police 20 minutes earlier. Fuck you. I'm done with these people. Whew. Guys, my Agent Orange just flared up. Jesus fucking Christ. So I'm going to go ahead and do a last call here, because I'm getting too riled up to even think straight. Because, I probably shouldn't do this while I'm watching have these protests playing in front of me, because I just see these people, and I think to myself, I just want to grab my fucking bat, my Commie Crusher 5000, and I want to walk out there and just start the right-wing T-ball league and just start pinging fucking heads, man. That's about the point where I'm at with these fucking people. They've proven themselves to not want to have a conversation, because what happens, they start losing that conversation, and they just resort to insults, you're a fascist, you're a Nazi, you're a racist, blah, blah. The same other cultural Marxist playbook bullshit that they throw out. That's the type of wording that they throw out when they no longer have any dialogue left. So let's do a last call here, guys. Last call, everybody. Pack your shit up. Let's go ahead and head out of here. Finish your drinks. Get that to go, guy. Yeah, you. So, as I said, I tried to extend an olive branch to these people. I tried to get Miss Natasha Marin here, but, she's just got so many meetings with her master's degree in writing, because it's always wise to schedule a meeting. Let me tell you something, Natasha. I don't have a master's degree. I didn't have time to go to the 13th grade because I was too busy starting multiple businesses and the number one podcast in the world right now, the Barbarian Lounge. I was too busy doing those things in order to actually start up any sort of college pursuit. So I actually, when I got out of school, I went to work. I used street smarts. I read, I educated myself. I didn't have to go there to the 13th grade to be educated. So I was way too busy actually being successful rather than getting papers that said I was successful. So, I tried to extend an olive branch to you. I tried to have the conversation. I've opened the door for you leftists to come in here and talk. And none of you want to talk. All you want to do is fight. All you want to do is burn shit. All you want to do is throw out your cultural Marxist playbook buzzwords. That's all you want to do. Right? Okay. So be it. I'll leave the colorful wording. I'll leave the masterful debate skills to people who maybe have time and have the willingness to sit down and conversate with these people. But, you know what? If you guys want to come in and talk, we can do that. But you've proven what you want to do. You just want to tear shit up. You want to impose your will on other people. You want to eradicate anyone who doesn't think the same as you do. You want to yell bigot, which is ironic. It's ironic because bigot defined is intolerance to those who have opinions different than yours. So that's always fun. You want to use the black people. You want to use Hispanics. You want to use Muslims. And, you want to use them as your standing army to create chaos. You want to use them as an ability to overthrow the system of government which you hide under, which you try and wrap yourself in that banner whenever you're confronted about your First Amendment and your constitutional rights and all this stuff like that, as you trying to destroy that stuff around you. That's what you want to do. That's fine, guys. That's fine. Because, as I've said, when you've exhausted all chances to have a dialogue between people, once you've exhausted all those avenues, there's only one avenue left. And I know you think when you go out in your mobs and you beat up women and you threaten children, you threaten old people, and 20 of you attack one person, you bring steel pipes to peaceful rallies led by different members of the right and everything, and you throw urine on them. You think when you do that and they don't do anything to you, you think to yourself it's going to be an easy fight, right? It's going to be a piece of cake. Look at them. They won't even fight back. Well, listen to me very carefully. Once we decide to fight back, once the war begins, because you have to understand, this war has not begun. This war hasn't begun yet. You think it's begun, but it hasn't. The reason you're still around is because the war has not begun. Once it does, you guys are going to be handled swiftly, harshly, violently. It's going to happen quickly. It's going to happen efficiently. And I'm sorry that you had to push it to the point where it had to go that route. We tried to talk. We tried to invite you in. We tried to discuss our differences. But you've proven that all you want is violence. Well, let me tell you something. When violence does come, and it's going to come, unfortunately, it's come to that point. It's going to come. When violence does come, I pity the outcome for you people. Because you have to understand, the right, for the most part, is interested in preserving dialogue. They're interested in having the conversation. They don't want to just throw out buzzwords. But there's coming a point where we're sick of defending ourselves. We're sick of trying to explain to you exactly why we're not racist. We're sick of explaining to you why we need a wall. And throughout all these conversations, all you've got is racist, fascist, misogynist, bigot. And then you start attacking, throwing shit, burning shit, threatening chemical attacks on people. Once it happens, guys, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be really bad. So I urge all of you guys on the left, I urge you. This door is still open. You know, I get riled up when I say I don't want to have a conversation, but that's not true. I do want to have the conversation. I do want to at least give you a chance to explain yourself. But you won't. You'll run and hide in your little corners and everything like that, and you'll sneak out every now and then when you've got a mob of about 50 people, and you'll attack under the cover of darkness with your faces covered. That's what you'll do, most likely. Understand this, if you keep going that route, it's only going to go one way, and that's violence. And you don't want that from the right. I'm just warning you right now, you don't want it, because there's a lot of men, strong women, strong men and women of color on the right side. They're going to put you down really quick, really harshly, very violently, very efficiently. It's going to be over with in a night. So please, leftists, reject these cultural Marxist teachings. There's still time for you. There's still time. Push these people out. Because if not, winter is coming. Thank you guys for listening. I enjoyed doing this podcast. I'm a little riled up today. It's very hard for me to stay focused when I get so riled up. As I said, my interview I had set up was kind of kiboshed on me at the last minute. So, I had to do what I had to do. And, we are where we are, and I did what I did, and everything I said, it's a plea to the left. It's a plea to these cultural Marxists to back down, to stand down. This is a formal warning. You guys are going to have to stand down because you are stirring a hornet's nest that you're not going to like what happens once we come out and start stinging. So take care, guys. Stay safe out there. All my brothers in D.C., brothers who are out there in the uniform, that are out there protecting our 45th president. Hail Trump. All you brothers out there, stay safe. All of you out there, understand that just because Trump's in power, it's not over with yet. The battle is just beginning. Stay safe. Keep your head on a swivel. And now, fellow barbarians, the lounge is closed.